All right, Texas finishes the regular season a mediocre 7-5, and we got to talk about it after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I'm not on step milk. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today I want to talk about Texas, Casey Thompson, and what we can expect from Texas in the bowl game and headed into the next season. But first, I want to encourage you, sign up for my newsletter. There's a link in the description below. If you do so between now and December the 7th, you will be entered to win the Hertz lamp. Don't fumble it. Now, I wanted to talk about Texas, and I want to start with Casey Thompson. Why did I want to start with Casey Thompson and not necessarily Sam Ehlinger or Devin Duvernay or Roschon Johnson or even the defense? It's because Casey Thompson is very much on the minds of Oklahoma fans and Texas fans alike, because Casey Thompson is, yes, the son of Charles Thompson. Charles Thompson does, among other things, radio in Oklahoma City, CBS Sports Radio, and he is my seatmate at OU football games this season. Charles is a remarkable dude. I love sitting there just talk with him, see what he sees, bounce things off of him. We talk about scheme. We talk about how things are drawn up, what we see out there. And that was a lot of fun this weekend. We don't really ever talk about Casey. I mean, he may talk about Casey a lot, but we don't do that. I only mentioned it to say, if anybody would know what's going on with Casey Thompson, it's that guy, right? So perhaps that's a guy to listen to when we talk about Casey Thompson. I also want to talk about how he performed in garbage time. Why? Because it's kind of like talking about Spencer Rattler when we talk about OU football. It's not to say that we don't care that Jalen Hurts is putting together really one of the great seasons of all time in college football, if you really want to look at it statistically. But because you always want to know who's behind the guy who is the guy, and you want to know how good you're going to be at that position if that guy should go down. Sam Ehlinger did not have the kind of season that a lot of folks wanted him to have, myself included. He was mentioned as a Heisman candidate to start the season. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated in a year in which Texas is supposed to be back after winning 10 games, never mind that they lost 4, and winning the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. That ain't how it went down this year. They ran into a buzzsaw of LSU, Oklahoma, and then as they got hurt, basically, started to fall apart with losses to Iowa State and Texas Christian. They bounced back. They did not. They beat they beat Kansas State on a late field goal, and then they lost to Baylor, and now they won out with the 7-5 record against Texas Tech, 49-24, in a game in which Devin Duvernay had 199 yards receiving. Sam Ehlinger went for nearly 350 yards passing. Roschon Johnson had 105 on the ground with 3 tutties, and that is also a big deal because Roschon Johnson might be the best running back at Texas right now. And consider that Keontae Ingram was supposed to be that guy. Consider that Daniel Young got a lot of carries this year, not to say nothing of what Jordan Whittington might look like next year. But I got to believe that Roschon Johnson goes into the bowl game and even the spring as your number one tailback, which is pretty doggone awesome for a guy who was a dual threat quarterback commit and signee in this 2020 class that was widely heralded. Jake Smith getting a nice touchdown pass today, also from Ehlinger. But watching Casey Thompson just run this power spread, watching him make all the right reads, even holding on to the ball just a little too long with that really, really long read option where he pulled it out of the gut of Daniel Young right in time to get for no gain in a play that probably went for a loss. He had with 3:15 left to play in 3rd and 1. He had a nice pull read and he took off running with it. You weren't going to throw the ball in that particular situation. But I've always liked Casey Thompson's game. Most people would tell you he was the most talented of Charles's children. And remember, Kendall Thompson played some quarterback at Oklahoma, even started a couple of games as a lefty. But I've always thought that Casey was going to be that dude. But you get Sam Ehlinger coming back for his senior year, and you got to believe his heir apparent right now is Casey Thompson, because Roschon Johnson is playing running back and been outstanding at that position. Yeah, you can move him back, but knowing what you have behind Sam Ehlinger in Casey Thompson is a big deal. And for Oklahoma, you're thinking, all right, next year, Jalen Hurts is gone. Spencer Rattler feels like the heir apparent, but Tanner Mordecai is very much there and in the mix. Could be an Austin Kendall kind of situation where we're all gassing up Mordecai because don't really want him to go anywhere. But if he did, would there potentially be a swap? Probably not. I also know that there's been the normal amount of attrition from Texas, with Cam Rising ending up at Utah, probably going to be the starter after Tyler Huntley is done there next year. Also got Peyton Powell, who transferred from Baylor over to Utah, could be a quarterback for them. It's going to be fun to watch what Kyle Whittingham decides to do with Utah next year, as they're going to be going into another year in which a lot of folks expect them to be right where they are now, which is competing for a college football playoff spot. As for Texas, man, I get that you held Texas Tech to 24, but you also got over 300 yards passing put up on you. Also need to add to that, most of the plays called by David Yost with Jet Duffy at quarterback were pass plays. It's also a Jet Duffy that nobody believed in to start the season. That dude was told more or less, you're the third string quarterback. And they put this really trash quarterback grad transfer from Rice in there before they did him against Oklahoma. And it took all of a couple series to figure out this ain't going to work. And then Jet Duffy goes in there and he does what you thought he might do on the ground, and then turns into a dynamic passer seemingly the next week. And he's just continued to do that. And Yost and Matt Wells have built around Jet Duffy and what he does well. And if they had Sir Roderick Thompson healthy the whole year and they didn't leave TJ Vasher for some time and they have some wide receiver out there that can help him out, feel really good, man. I mean, he got help today, but I would love to see what it looks like to give him the full assortment and to give him the keys. I get that Alan Bowman is redshirting and probably going to compete for that job next year, but what Jet Duffy gives you as an extra man in the run game where you have to respect his ability to take off with the ball is just something Alan Bowman does not give you. So I'm really interested to see what they look like with Jet Duffy coming back next year. Back to Texas, Tom Herman's got some thinking to do, man. I get that he wants to narrow down to his spread and he wants to just commit to running power spread because he's a stubborn some gun, but this ain't really cutting it. I get that Sam Ehlinger has grown more as a passer, but you need to continue to take steps with him, and maybe that means blowing up your scheme. I like power spread. I like running the ball to throw it. I also get that when you've gotten beat down and dialed into the way defensive coordinators in this league have with Texas this year, might be time for you to change it up, man, especially as you're going into another season in which, hey, you got to do something because this mediocre stuff ain't going to cut it. You've had 2 mediocre seasons since you got to Texas and 1 10-win season, which you need 14 games to get to, which is just unheard of. So there's a lot to think about here. I also think that they're not really going to make that much of a change on the defense because Todd Orlando's defense was mostly banged up, but when they were out there playing well and they were trying to dial up stuff and blitz, they look good, and they're going to grow up a little bit. You got a lot of freshmen that got playing time this year and a lot of freshmen that you expect to get some run out of next year that are going to grow and get bigger under Yancey McKnight. I understand that he and Herman are really tight, but I also would go up to Yancey McKnight and be like, yo, man, I can't have the injuries that I had this year. I can't have that number. We lost like half the squad to injury. Caden Stearns banged up this year. This is a guy that was really in the conversation last year for the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award. Just didn't materialize for him because he's such a pup. But this year, battling through injuries, and you can see him out there basically hobbling around, trying to play some safety. But you're going to lose guys like Brandon Jones. You're going to have to replace them. You're going to lose guys like Malcolm Roach. You're going to have to replace him. Colin Johnson didn't give you a whole hell of a lot this year because he never played as big as he looks. Like, to be so big, he didn't play that big. And you're going to get Brendan Eagles, who's going to grow up a little bit more. You're going to have to find a replacement for Devin Duvernay, but I think that guy's Jake Smith. I'm very high on Jake Smith. I think Jake Smith could be the truth. I also want to see that dude go do some things, maybe not at Texas, maybe at LSU, maybe at Oklahoma, maybe at Alabama, maybe it's somewhere where they're going to get that guy involved more often and quickly. My goodness. But I think if you're a Texas fan, you got to win. You got to win on senior day. You get to go to a bowl game, even if it is the Camping World Bowl. Texas go play in the Camping World Bowl. I don't know what's worse, honestly. Playing in the Camping World Bowl or playing in another Texas Bowl or being kicked to the Alamo Bowl. Either way, I'm going to watch it because it's been a train wreck and it's been fun because I get to hear Tom Herman's postgame and I get to hear how all the folks on the message boards feel about it, and particularly in the comments as they want to tell me about what Texas is supposed to do, but you are most definitely not back. That's it for me. Doses.